Discovered my wife meeting her ex in our home. Served her divorce papers in front of her parents and walked away for good. I'm 35, male, and I've been married for just over 4 years. My wife, let's call her Kay, was the kind of person who lit up a room. That's what drew me to her when we first met. She was charming, magnetic, the type of woman who could talk her way out of any situation and have people eating out of the palm of her hand. At first, I thought I'd hit the jackpot. We dated for 2 years, got married, and everything seemed perfect. Or at least, that's what I kept telling myself. I work in sales, so my job requires frequent travel, sometimes for days or even weeks at a time. Kay always acted like she understood. "Go, make us that money," she'd say with a laugh, kissing me on the cheek as I dragged my suitcase out the door. I never questioned her. I trusted her completely. I thought that's what marriage was built on, trust. But trust can be a double-edged sword. I had no idea what was going on while I was away, but in the back of my mind, little things started bothering me. The way her phone would light up with messages late at night, how she suddenly had dinners with friends when I was out of town, or how she'd be evasive when I asked her what she'd been up to while I was gone. One night, everything came crashing down. I was on a business trip, same as always, and I finished early. Instead of staying the night at the hotel like I'd planned, I decided to surprise her and come home a day early. The flight was late, and I got in after midnight. As I pulled up to the house, I noticed something odd. There was a car in the driveway that I didn't recognize. My first thought? Maybe a friend of hers stayed over. No big deal, right? But then I saw the lights in the living room flicker off. My heart was pounding as I grabbed my bags, trying to convince myself that there had to be an innocent explanation. I unlocked the door as quietly as I could and stepped inside, listening. That's when I heard voices, hers, along with a man's voice that I immediately didn't recognize. I stood there in the hallway, frozen. Part of me wanted to barge in and confront her right there, but another part of me wanted proof. So I waited, listening. That's when I heard it, the unmistakable sound of his voice. Her ex. The same ex who had once broken her heart, the one she swore up and down she'd never speak to again. I felt the blood drain from my face. What was he doing in my house at midnight while I was supposed to be away on business? I didn't wait any longer. I barged into the living room, and there they were. She was standing too close to him, her face full of shock and guilt, and he looked like a deer caught in headlights. "What the hell is this?" I said, my voice barely above a whisper, because I didn't trust myself not to lose it completely. She stumbled over her words, trying to explain. "It's not what it looks like." "Oh, really? So you're just catching up at 1 in the morning while I'm halfway across the country?" I could feel the betrayal burning through me like acid, but her excuses were pathetic. "Listen, man, I was just..." Her ex started, but I cut him off. "Get out." "Now," I said, my voice as cold as ice. He didn't need to be told twice. He grabbed his jacket and left without looking back. Kay stood there, tears welling in her eyes, but I didn't care. The trust was shattered. "You've been seeing him behind my back, haven't you?" I asked, but it wasn't really a question. I already knew the answer. She tried to deny it at first, then she admitted it. Apparently they had been meeting up for months, just talking, she insisted. But I knew better. You don't secretly meet with your ex just to chat while your husband is out of town. She claimed she was confused. That she didn't mean for it to go this far, but it was clear she wasn't confused when she invited him into our home. I didn't argue. I didn't yell. I walked upstairs, packed a small bag, and left the house. I needed to cool down, to think. I checked into a hotel for the night and tried to wrap my head around what had just happened. The next morning, I called my lawyer. That's when I decided. This marriage was over. I wasn't going to be the fool who stuck around, hoping things would magically get better. She made her choice, and I was about to make mine. The next week was a blur. I avoided her calls, her messages. She left voicemails crying, begging me to come home so we could talk about this. But I was done talking. I made an appointment with a locksmith and changed the locks while she was out. The day I served her divorce papers, I made sure her parents were there. I wanted witnesses. They had always been so quick to praise her, to act like she was perfect and could do no wrong. I wanted them to see the truth. When she came home, she was surprised to see me there. Her parents were sitting in the living room, looking confused but worried. I could tell they had no idea what was about to happen. Kay walked in, her face lighting up when she saw me, probably thinking I was there to reconcile. I didn't even give her a chance to speak before I handed her the envelope. "What's this?" she asked, frowning as she opened it. Then her face paled. She looked up at me, eyes wide with panic. "Divorce papers," I said, my voice flat, emotionless. "You've been cheating on me, meeting your ex behind my back while I've been away, so it's over." Her parents gasped, and her mother put a hand to her mouth. "Is this true?" her father asked her, clearly shocked. She started crying, right there in front of them. But I wasn't moved. I'd spent the last week processing everything, and I was done. Her tears didn't change the facts. She betrayed me, and there was no going back. I never. "It wasn't," she stammered, "but I wasn't having it." "Save it," I said. "You made your choice. Now I'm making mine." Her parents didn't say a word. They sat there in stunned silence, looking at their daughter as if they didn't recognize her. Part of me felt bad for them. They had no idea what kind of person she really was. But that wasn't my problem anymore. As I walked out of the house for the last time, I felt a strange sense of peace. I had done everything I could to make this marriage work, but in the end, you can't build something real on lies. I wasn't going to waste any more time pretending things were fine when they weren't. Over the next few months, things got messy, as they always do with divorces. Kay tried to fight it, claiming she was sorry and that we could work it out. She even accused me of overreacting, saying it was just a few meetings with her ex. But I knew better. I'd seen the messages on her phone when I went through them later, long conversations that were far too intimate for comfort. She had been lying for months, maybe longer. In the end, we finalized the divorce. I walked away with my dignity intact, knowing I had made the right call. Kay tried to reach out a few times after that, but I blocked her on everything. There was no point in rehashing the past. I had moved on, and honestly, I feel freer now than I ever did. It's funny how betrayal can feel like a punch to the gut at first, but eventually, it becomes a weight lifted off your shoulders. You see things clearly. You learn who people really are, and you learn who you are, too. So yeah, if you're ever in a situation where you think something's off, trust your gut. Don't be the fool I almost became, staying in a marriage built on lies. If you're still watching, maybe hit subscribe. You never know when life's next twist might hit. And trust me, I've got more stories to tell.